is the day, guys. Jacob's Well. That's where we're headed. But I'm going to take y'all up through the neighborhood. This is a secret way in to those in the know. Pleasant Valley Road action. We're going to head back here, and we're going to start with the canal, the dried up canal that leads in, and just the stacked up slabs that line the entire canal on your way in. There's just some big stuff just sitting in this neighborhood, just hanging out, just super obtrusive. Sleepy giants in the neighborhood. So first little water crossing here in the neighborhood. And this stuff is just excessive. Alright, here we are. We're in this neighborhood where Jacob's Well is. And this is a little sentimental spot for me. Little kids park. I used to live in this neighborhood when my daughter was just a little girl. And this is all built out now. It used to be basically a swing and just some other little toys here. It wasn't anything fancy. Oh, how cool. This is so different. This is way built out now. There used to be just one swing set here. But always a good time. I have given 1,000 hugs and kisses to my sweet little babies here, and they're little. And I have given probably about 10 to 20,000 pushes on the swings here. All right, yeah, this is the heart of Wood Creek. Wood Creek North, to be exact. All right, let's go look for some fossils. Let's get a up close view of the old world now. Shall we? Love you, Nan. Love you, Justin. We're gonna find all kinds of treasures. I guarantee you. This place is just staggering in what it reveals. It's massive. It's excessive. And it's partially melted, but mostly not, which is even better because then you can truly grasp, what we're looking at here. We're going to start kind of wide so y'all can drink this in. This stuff, I tell you what, if you thought that was a candy show behind the square over there in Cypress Creek, look at this stuff. I mean, that layer down there, just these two sections alone, it's the size of an 18-wheeler down there. Just that sandwich of layers there. This right here, all this, the size of an 18-wheeler. All right, you see what's going on here? Same old thing. And let's bring our attention down low first. Okay, I think it's pretty obvious these are slabs. Look how the top, the bun, look how the bun is all swole on the top. But yeah, it's just super obvious, cocked out because, as this thing slid down, it's not all gonna stay level like it was, like the building was level, and all the, all these layers were actually just plumb underneath each other. It was a big wall, but as it melted, it kicked out at the bottom, continued to ooze out the bottom. And so let's just pan to the left. What do we see? All the same patterns. Look all the way down. I mean, let's just take another wide shot down the trail here. Okay, here's this leveled off corner piece. Look at it. It's flat. And then the wall. Okay, I just want to point out that, the heat strike was from above. So all this stuff is cooked like right here on this outward facing top edge. And then it's all baked on the top. Like the line right here. Okay, see how it's Like it's still baked here on the exposed part, but just under that lip where it wasn't, because it was slid back this way before it slid out, it was not exposed. And when it slid out this much, then it showed you where that line is. Okay, look, we got a little corner piece lower and a corner piece upper. Highly suspicious. Oh yeah, here we go. Knock them out of the park, and I'm picking up on these. Okay. Looky. Oh, this was the big smoker. The big smoking gun right over here. Okay, this corner piece, super sus. Now what do you got here? You got some uniform holes here. And you know, they melted shut, but look at that. That's like the impression of, you know, 3 fingers there. Or just, you know, openings into this canal here for water flow from inside the fort, perhaps. Okay, the whole point is, you know, this is the road leading into Jacob's Well itself. So you get the grand entrance tour and all the stuff that is so related to that. This is just the canal. It's all dried up. And just like the rest of it, this canal, many other neighborhoods, runs all the way through. It's like a big loop. Or it may not be a loop, but you know what I'm saying, it just traverses and runs through the neighborhood itself. Of course, to service this area, to deliver water, and to be this active waterway, you know, from A to B, just all around here. Super massive. Stuff is scary big. Like, kind of conventional means would you need to get any of this stuff out here in a modern world? Or let's just take that back even further. Regardless if we could or we did or something, like, what melted it? So that's really the big question. Anybody can have conjecture all day long about the timeline and what time frame this stuff, what delivered this stuff here, you know, but who can give a serious explanation for why this stuff is so melted? Like, what melted this? I mean, it's obviously a building, right? So, you know, it wasn't. Was this under the ocean? I seriously doubt it. All right, look at here. So this big old piece has a very noticeable hole here. But man, I'll tell you what, that looks like just a huge air hole. Air escapes, you know, this thing is just, it's getting baked out, cooked out, whatever current's running through it. See, here's another little, see, it just pops out like that. See that hole there? That's just hot air escaping. It's massive stuff here. See the nice, I don't know, just this would fit solidly. This just looks like, you know, like Lincoln logs, the way it has places that, you know, interlock and fit with other layers. So that's probably what this is all about down here, that squared off corner. But as far as the top being all bubbly, that's where all the magic happens with the heating, you know, with whatever hit this. You know, all this stuff, again, I call into question the education system and, you know, these college programs that, you know, anybody, these archaeology students, or even just the at-large community of diggers and people that are out here, boots on the ground, surveying this stuff. And you mean to tell me there's not one student or knucklehead or anybody that got out here and goes, wait a minute, this isn't natural. This is nothing but blocks, you know, like way back in the 1800s. I mean, again, we're talking about a reset populace, so, you know, they're not asking any questions. They're just taking the words of the controllers and taking their little 40 acres or whatever and their little homestead plot, their free property, and they're getting it going again, you know, repopulating the tax farm. But, you know, in this modern time, now that we're all comfortable again, now that we're all built out and comfortable again, on top of whatever was here before, it seems like we should have the time and the luxury of being able to stop and say, hey, okay, now can we address this? Or are we still living in the world of fantasy? Because I don't think that's fair. I just think at the end of the day, that's kind of the big tell of, you know, like what the system has for you, which is zero truth. Because all this stuff has been hidden, you know, like the manipulation has just been from the start. So how can you take anything they have for you when it's all diversion and, you know, cut you off from your true history from the start, you know? Wicked. I don't get it. All right, this canal just really widens out as we proceed toward our destination, the old Jacob's Well. So I may end up cutting this together with some footage. I came down here one other time. There were some locals hanging out after hours swimming, and that was kind of cool. I'm sure I'll plug that in here at the end. So moving along, heading down this canal as it shows a solid floor of rubble. You know, this is all the mud and rubble that slid down the hill and washed out. See how it's like a big wave? So, you know, this came from this certain area here. It's this big, you know, you can see the wave here where it kind of ended. You know, don't tell me if they came and filled this up with road base or something. No, this is all part of the, just whatever, all the higher up stuff. As it melted, it comes down. Because we know that most of these are lined out with concrete, so if I'm not seeing concrete, it's because this is all the muddy part that slid in. But I guarantee you, I'm sure along the way, 99% sure. Oh wait, where's it at? Nice little seashell print there. Love it. Here we go, we made it up to the water crossing. And this just goes up through the neighborhood. Let's get up here. Behold! Behold. Behold. Some of this, you know, it's been lined out. You know, they've come in here and these are modern touches. I'm not saying this part is the old part. But, you know, hey, some of this rubble over here that's part of the old stuff. Look at that. Or some older stuff. Some older modern stuff. And now here's the old stuff. There we go. Back to the baked and bubbly. Back to the pocked out. Back to the air holes. These hot air escape holes. As we keep it moving. Oh yeah, look at all that. The floor of this, it's just, you know, that's under hard rock right there. That's not, there's not a lot of dirt here, guys. Have y'all noticed that? All right, here we go. This dates it. See the industrial rebar? Okay, yeah. And I see under the lip of that other modern stuff. Yeah. Here's your tell. Here's your tell for the modern day stuff, or the stuff that but that part of it is really not much. Again, there's no rhyme or reason or like big swath of the same pattern. That's, again, one of the tells to show that, you know, these were little strikes, little meltings, little separate meltings. So who knows the history behind that. All right, here we go. There's a little modern staircase leading up the side here, because, you know, that goes up to where you come into the park itself. You know, the now very tailored, and, you know, the pay window and the call for a reservation. That Jacob's Well, that park. See, that goes up there. Okay, so we come into some new stuff where some red dirt is now showing. Okay, well, here's the big visual for this whole excursion. This is what makes it all worth it for me. Look at this cooked out mess. Look at this cooked out mess. Look how scalded the underside of this is, and this just poured and melted, and it just emptied out in the center between these layers. It was just pouring down, emptying out, and bubbling under the layers. Look at that. You know, sea worms didn't do that, guys. I hate to break the news to you and burst your little, you know, dino bubble or millions of years bubble. Why does it need to be that? You know, this is not that. This is made by men who had their act together. I mean, even if you want to say this was built by aliens, I mean, this took some artistry, and I don't believe that at all. I'm just throwing a joke out there. But, like, this is just so obvious. Good night, man. Look at this show. Look at this scalding. This is excessive. Some power source, you know, some heat source had its way with this place, with all of this. You know, I toured this once before. You know, it's easy to get off on a tangent, and you're seeing little different things, but I really think there's a lot of value in just looking at this from a big, broad angle, and just noting the runny patterns, noting the scorch patterns, noting the bubbles. Down here, this layer's a total different color. This is all outside, crusty, baked, pocked out stuff. All right, man, this is just too much going on out here, man, for this to be like, you know, the world of pioneer settlers and that kind of stuff. Like, let's open it up a bit. And I'm just talking about what possibilities you might allow in, because, again, you have a couple of questions. Who built this stuff, and what melted it? What melted it? I mean, this is excessive. I mean, this is actually no different. This looks just like over there by the creek. I mean, okay, see how the bubble holes, and it's just cooked through so hard, it just runs up like this. And look, meanwhile, look at all the bubble holes down here as we keep it pushing here. But this is just so huge. And look, oh my God, look how it runs out the bottom. Just look. My goodness. See how it's baked out, the top and the bottom? So this thick layer wasn't going anywhere. This weight was just bringing it down, but in the meantime, everything in between it squishes out. Probably relatively quick. And then this thing cooled pretty fast, you know. But it was so much, it had to be so focused, because the density of this building, it had to be just like, you know, just serious energy weapon pulsing current through it and just melting it away. So we're going to talk more about that and what that energy device or that energy weapon could have been, because there's a couple of ideas. There's a couple things on the table that I think we should all know about, because it's ingrained in our culture also. So if you've ever heard of fascism, or maybe you've heard of the implement itself, it's called a fasci. And you know, fascism, wherever that comes from, whether it's a political thing or it's like, you know, a brotherhood, or, you know, a party of some description, they apparently, you know, it's written that they had an energy device called a fasci. Basically, it's like pipes, metal rods that are, you know, harnessed, strung tightly together, tied tightly together. And you can find information now of these fasci. Take them out on the battlefield. And this was a, I don't know, electromagnetic device or a pulse device or something. So, you know, there's proofs that, you know, energy weapons have existed, you know, and that type of information has been disclosed. It may not be mainstream, but, you know, energy weapons have existed. They still exist. I mean, you know, it's a lot of things. Oh, there's my boy there. I came down here one time before, and if I'm not mistaken, he flew out of the same spot. Look at here. Just these layers, obvious layers. Look at this, man. Just. All right, there's so much to see here, so much to talk about, but I wanted to bring in this little intro to the fasci and maybe urge you to explore a little bit more about what that could be, because there's all kinds of information on the internet. The internet, yeah. Which is where we all get our information these days. Let me just remind you. So many layers to this that are still exposed and that aren't melted. I mean, just they're vaguely melted. They're not excessively melted. So I think somebody with a fasci or some type of energy weapon, maybe from the sky, because it always seems to be the upper external layers. And probably they just do a flyover and just, you know, target this location, and when it melts to the satisfaction of just like inoperable, then they keep it moving, you know, whatever rate. Again, I don't think this was an act of God. I don't think this was like, I mean, it could have been. All of it's an act of God. But what I'm saying is, you know, this wasn't like a catastrophic asteroid or something, you know, something like that. This was like technology in use to dismember or to render certain other locations and technology inoperable for whatever reason. That's just my thinking that I put together with my observations here. All right, so hello. We have reached our location.